From Sigma Woman, this is the Business for Aligned Women podcast. I'm your host, Clara McKay, your aligned business coach and advocate for all things showing up for your vision. This is a no BS space for brave-hearted women who are actually craving change. I'm dedicated to bringing women's visions into reality, equipping women with all they need to build an abundant future, and shutting down all of the ways that you keep yourself small. Here, we're all about a women-centered approach, non-negotiable value alignment, and making bank without compromising your well-being. Each week, you're already one step closer to your most aligned and abundant future. Welcome to this week's conversation. We're talking about my own journey in business. This episode has come from a request that someone sent in on my end of year listener survey from last year. And if anyone is interested in hearing more about my experience or my history or kind of what happened to get me where I am, please send me a message. Today, we're actually specifically talking about overcoming early business struggles, the things that I really struggled with or the biggest obstacles for me and what I did to overcome them. I guess for you to know how to overcome them, but also mainly to recognize that it is an obstacle, that it is a problem, that it's not okay in the long term, and why you should be avoiding that. And a beautiful thing about me and how I work and working with me, I'm a 3-5 generator in human design, and that means my whole life has been about experimentation. And that means that I can really clearly see that's going to work, that's not going to work. That save you literally like decades in business. We're talking about all of that so that hopefully you don't make the same mistakes that I did and you can just propel past them and move faster and accelerate your business journey, especially at the start. So we're going to be talking about the common struggles that I recognize in myself and my own experience in those beginning stages of a business, how I overcame those struggles, and why mindset is probably your greatest asset in business. And speaking of that, I do have a group coaching program coming up later in the year, which is all around mindset and how we can collectively get our mindset clear and correct for the sake of being a successful business owner, because I think mindset is such a maze, but it's also such a requirement if you do want to progress in business. If that sounds interesting to you, you can apply for that in the show notes. I also have my 2 freebies in the show notes. One is my podcast planner that I've talked about last week, but the other one that I really want to highlight for you is my free book club, talking all about self-sabotage, looking at the book The Mountain Is You as our first book. If you're relating to some of these struggles that I talk about today, you'd probably get a lot from that book. We're reading it over the next couple of months and we're going to share it together and discuss it. And I see this book club as really doing the foundational work that is required in order to be a successful businesswoman. And that is often self-work, self-development, self-awareness, self-regulation. And this book is hopefully going to get you there. Okay, let's get into the struggles that I had at the beginning of my business retrospectively. I'm in the 6th year of working full-time, being self-employed and earning a multiple 6-figure income. And I feel like I have a really good amount of retrospective wisdom that I am going to be able to impart on you. First one, which I still struggle with to this day, is chopping and changing, pivoting too soon and having an idea but not sticking with it long enough to see it all the way through to completion and then blossoming. And this is actually a psychological term called uprooting, and it's very, very common in creative people. It means essentially that you're only comfortable in the very initial progress, in the ideation, the coming up with the idea, the fun, exciting part of it, but you just don't have the fuel and the strength and the energy to stay with that original idea long enough to see it into actual fruition. A lot of you are feeling like I just touched a nerve. Don't worry about it. Don't beat yourself up, but see it and call it out and notice it in your business, in your creative life, and it's probably happening in other areas as well. How did I get over chopping and changing? I have had a really big reset in terms of recognizing that you cannot get everything to nourish you from your business. And I think this is a massive problem that people have at the beginning of a business. They think their business is going to be their sole creative outlet. They're going to have fun with it. They're going to play with it. It's going to give them their purpose, their faith in life, their connection to other people, all this stuff. And one thing that I do with my clients is get them to visualize their business as a baby, as a literal small newborn baby. And look at what you're expecting from it in regards to what it actually is being a baby. It's this tiny little baby that hasn't really worked itself out yet, that doesn't really have space for itself yet, that needs a lot of nourishment, a lot of care, a lot of hours, probably years to grow up and to come into its full fruition. But if you're just treating it like you want to get from it, it's never going to be able to grow. It's going to be malnourished, right? A lot of people are just chopping and changing really too quickly. And in that same concept of not expecting too much from it, also realizing that in order to build a business, you need to be quite specific with what you're doing and who you're for. And that might mean that you'll probably have lots of ideas that could be lots of different businesses. And often it won't make sense for them to be the one business. The biggest kind of personal thing I'm working on and putting energy and effort into is I have lots of ideas and there's an opportunity to have lots of businesses, but also lots of other different creative projects that may or may not develop income streams. And how do I divvy up my energy and my mental capacity to those things rather than putting it all in this one business? That's what I'm used to doing. The next one is going to hit. It's not doing enough and not doing it for long enough. I know no one wants to hear that. I know people want to hear that it's really quick and that you'll become famous in 2 weeks of posting twice or whatever it is. But the volume of what's required of you, like it is a lot, and it needs to be consistent action over time. You need to be prepared for that. And that's not to say, we're not saying burn yourself out. We always do it in a sustainable way, in a way that fits your life. But you need to be cognitively aware that that's what you're moving into. It's a lifelong, it's a future. We're doing this for your future. And a big part of this not doing enough for long enough that I really want to land with you, that I think I should probably do a separate episode on, is you better make sure that your expectations are in alignment with your efforts. We can talk about gentle business, we can talk about soft business. We're definitely not talking about hustling, but wherever you're at, your expectations need to be aligned with your efforts. And if you're expecting to make $100,000, but you're only showing up on Instagram once every 3 months, that's where you're going wrong. That's the problem. The problem isn't Instagram. The problem isn't your content. It's literally your mindset. And you expect to make money without ever selling anything, or you expect to make money without ever asking someone to buy something. We have to make sure that however much effort we are putting in, our expectations need to be in alignment with that. And if we realize that our expectations are much bigger and higher than that, then we need to adjust the amount of effort that we're putting in, that they're in alignment. I'm going to let you guys kind of mull on that one. Send me a message if it hits. And the next big strategic issue that I had when I was starting my business was just my messaging was really, really off. It wasn't at all clear who I was for or what I did. Overcoming that is basically just getting extremely clear and actually very cutthroat with what you do, who you do want to work with, who you are for, what you do. And one thing I see a lot in the wellness industry is just not over promising, like really owning what you can achieve for people and what they can expect from working with you, and then just holding yourself accountable to that in your content and your ads and your products. The last thing that I want to talk about in terms of overcoming early business struggles is that more kind of fine-tuned mindset issues. And I do have a group coaching program coming up later in the year called Expand, which is all about getting your mindset prepped. that you can become a really strong, successful business owner, making multiple six figures a year, doing something that feels good, and taking care of your health and well-being while you're doing it. I'll just touch on kind of the main mindset issues that I had with my business. The first one is just not having emotional equilibrium. And I mean that both for good stuff and bad stuff. What I mean is, if something bad happened in my business, I'd be really upset about it for ages. If something good happened or an opportunity presented itself, I'd probably be overexcited to an extent that was never going to be good, because you'd crash and burn. And that ended up being this really wavy, choppy experience. Whereas one of your biggest jobs as a business owner is to just maintain that baseline, that equilibrium. And whatever happens, whether it's good or bad, just kind of like try not to have too much of a reaction to it. I know that can sound crazy, but if you're at the beginning of your business, I'm 6 years in, please listen to me. How did I overcome that? I think it was trial and error of noticing how excited I would get about stuff and then it not really like having the impact that I thought it would. Noticing that I couldn't long term be that up and down, and how it was probably affecting my physical health. I probably burnt out a little bit. The next level of mindset issues was people pleasing and nice girl issues. And part of that is no boundaries, but we'll go into this people pleasing nice girl issues. Wanting to be perceived as nice, friendly, bubbly, open, available, all of those kinds of things. I don't think I have this anymore, and you probably don't think I do either if you've been listening for a while, but I'm going to ground on this stuff, and I have it in like even deeper ways than I thought I did. I'm still really unpeeling this stuff for myself. I want to lay it out there now. How did I overcome it? I started getting laser focus in my ability to see through people's bullshit and trusting my intuition more, in terms of when you get that immediate gut feeling or response about a person or a situation, listening to that despite what the opportunity might be saying. The opportunity might sound amazing, but if you feel really icky about it, then it may not be a good thing for you. Maybe icky is the wrong word. I would say, like, if you have a deep response in your body, it's definitely more of a bodily experience than a mental experience. I guess I became a bit of a bitch, a bit of a hard ass, and I realized that if I didn't do that, I would just end up in hospital. I'd end up burnt out. And that's one thing that I talk to all of my clients about this, that I think when you're a client, I talk to them about their clients, because if they say, oh, their clients can contact them 7 days a week and it's unlimited, but they're actually like quite kind of low vibe and low energy in their life at the moment because they're giving all of their energy to their clients. Like, you can't do that. You actually can't do that. And something that I saw for myself, trying to be open, slather, and available to everyone all the time. If that's where you're at right now, please know that that's not the way to keep going. I hope that some of this lands. And next week, we'll be talking all about rituals that I have as a female business in order to make sure that I continue to show up in that highest way for all of my projects and all of my clients. If you can't tell, getting to share this time with you is something that I find truly sacred. I know that you're busy, but if you've taken anything away from our time spent together today, could you extend the love and share this episode with a friend, your community, or on your socials? Tag me so that I can see it and I can share it too. Or when you have a spare moment, leave the podcast a review. These things cost you nothing and will mean so much to me. Let's get this resource into the hands of more women visionaries and help us collectively move towards our most aligned way of being and doing business together.